People say he's the reason behind many startups. I say he's the reason behind many breakups.
You have set me up. I wasn't prepared for this. I feel cornered instantly. This is on record my first formal conversation love और relationship के बारे में, क्योंकि इससे मैं बहुत दूर दूर तक जाता हूँ.
Ooh la la!
Is that Milan Soman or is that Ankur Warikoo?
She was very tall and of course really gorgeous. I remember having the biggest crush on her.
Welcome to another episode of Cotline, and today we have a very, very special guest. People say he's the reason behind many startups. I say he's the reason behind many breakups. Oh. Welcome, Mr. Ankur Warikoo.
That is such an unkind introduction. You have set me up. I wasn't prepared for this. I feel cornered instantly.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Amrita. Thanks a lot, Anmol, for having me. It's a pleasure to be amongst both of you.
It is such a pleasure to have you on Cotline, Ankur. And I think आज बहुत से लोग, खासतौर पे बहुत सी लड़कियां जो आपकी फैन है, उनको एक अलग पर्सपेक्टिव अंकुर का देखने को सुनने को मिलेगा.
है ना?
बट तुमने ऐसा क्यों बोल दिया है शुरू में ही? इतना सच्चा प्यारा इंसान, तुमने क्यों बोला he's the reason behind breakups?
You don't believe me? Oh, okay, 1 minute. I want to read some comments.
Okay.
PC says, heartbroken to find out he's married.
Oh. Look at it. Look at Ankur.
Who have you paid and how much to have these comments come in?
Okay.
Okay. What?
Rimpu says, I admire his charming personality and intelligence both. इसको Bollywood में होना चाहिए था. He would have been a successful film star. I can go on, Ankur, but I think...
Please stop.
आज बहुत दिल
रुक जाओ.
बहुत दिल टूट ही चुके हैं, तो I think उन्हें जोड़ने का थोड़ा काम करते हैं.
Yes.
So we have some interesting questions, some perspectives on love, on relationship.
क्योंकि मैं और अंकुर ना बिल्कुल we are born in the same year. तो मैं और दिल्ली के लड़के हैं दोनों. तो कहीं ना मैं रिलेट कर पाता हूँ कि शायद जब मैं 6th 7th में था तो मेरे साथ अगर ऐसा हो रहा होगा तो शायद अंकुर के साथ भी वैसा हो रहा होगा. तो मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि मुझे आता है, मैं 6ठी क्लास में था और मुझसे 4 साल बड़ी लड़की एक स्कूल में थी एंड आई हैड अ मेजर क्रश ऑन हर. आज सोचता हूँ कि शायद वो फीलिंग्स थी जब पहली बार रियलाइज हुआ कि अच्छा ये होता है कुछ जो लव होता है. तो मैं पूछूंगा पहले ये कि लाइफ में अंकुर वो कब हुआ था पहली बार? शायद उस लड़की का नाम भी नहीं पता होगा, लेकिन वो पहली बार हुआ था कि किसी को देखा एंड कुछ हुआ अंदर.
नाम पता था अनमोल.
अच्छा.
This was in school. I think मैं 9th या 10th standard में था, and I grew up in Lajpat Nagar, and that is a colony in south of Delhi, and I went to an all boys school.
Don Bosco.
Don Bosco. So I had zero perspective about women, girls. I had zero idea. I know boys in and out. तो मुझे मतलब उनकी फितरत बिल्कुल closely पता है. But no idea of how girls behave, what they want, what they don't want, like, not like. And I grew up as a geeky, nerdy kid. Very uncomfortable socially, not the one to do small talks, clearly never the one to approach a stranger and introduce myself and so on. And मुझे याद है DPS RK पुरम की भी बस मेरे बस स्टॉप से ही चलती थी. And वहाँ very clearly someone much older to me, I think 4 or 5 years.
देखो same.
Never spoke to anybody, so I loved the enigma around her. She was very tall and of course really gorgeous, but there was something about her which was enigmatic, which and that enigma came from her restraint, not from her jovial सबसे दोस्ती कर लूंगी वाला. It was more like never speaking to anybody and so on, and I remember having the biggest crush on her. और
कितना मजा आता था ना. मतलब सुबह आप तैयारी कर रहे हो, माँ बाप सोच रहे हैं देखो बच्चा स्कूल जाने के लिए तैयार हो रहा है, बच्चा सिर्फ बस स्टॉप पे जाने के लिए तैयार हो रहा है, उसके बाद जिंदगी स्टॉप है उस दिन की.
I so swear. I think you're saying it exactly the way जैसे होता था.
और वो नाम भी पता करना की जो एक मिस्ट्री होती थी कि भैया अभी नाम पता कर रहे हैं कि नाम क्या होगा, वो भी एक अपने आप में एक ट्रेजर हंट हुआ करता था. सच्ची. It's not like today कि इंस्टा पे क्या पता लग गया है, नाम पता करना है यार.
And उस समय पे लैंडलाइन होते थे, so that was the bigger, like the missed calls was a thing. And it was a legit thing. तो आप call करेंगे and उसी समय पे, almost उसी समय पे, there was some very rich families who had started to get caller ID facilities वगैरह, लेकिन उनके पास नहीं थी. So you would just call and they would just hear you breathing, but there would be zero conversation, nothing whatsoever. It was crazy, man.
God, मैं इतना relate कर पा रहा हूँ इससे कि फोन उठा लिया उसने, बस सांसें चल रही हैं, बस उसी में बंदा खुश है. अंकुर का और बसों का जो है ना, मैं देख रहा हूँ बड़ा रिश्ता है. क्योंकि बंदा 19 साल में था, 19 साल में फिर बस में.
अच्छा.
कौन?
तो this story is like proper Bollywood. Delhi University. So I went to Delhi University North Campus, Hindu College.
Hindu.
उस समय पे, अब नहीं होता, उस समय पे youth special का concept था, which was basically a school bus but now for university kids. There was a Alaknanda youth special, and the Alaknanda youth special लाजपत नगर से होती हुई निकलती थी. And I, like the geeky, nerdy kid, मैं लास्ट में जाके बैठ जाता था. And it just so happened that वहाँ एक बहुत ही active group था which used to play dumb charades every single afternoon for the 1 hour that it used to take us to reach places. And in that group there was this one life of the group who I had no idea about, zero idea. She was just very cute and I had never seen her before except for that. And because I was the last seated row, I had basically the direct contact of everything that was happening. So,
the balcony view of the
balcony view of that feature film was mine. And that's when I first saw and met Ruchi, and we got to know each other. And this group was way beyond my league. Because this was the cool kids group, the loud, noisy ones who kept everyone entertained, but it was very snooty. Membership was closed. कहीं घुस नहीं सकता था कोई ऐसे randomly. So it was like it was like the Phoenix Club of Howard. तो अपना ही एक छोटा सा Delhi University North Campus का group, and thankfully they saw something in me to invite me over, and then I became part of that group, and then suddenly time took over.
Dumb charades really worked for him, huh?
Dumb charades really worked.
So then what age did you fall in love or got into a relationship, let's say?
You know, I have to say this, Amrita and Anmol, that while I really liked Ruchi from the beginning, she of course was just, like if she settled on me, it would be a big deal for her because she could literally walk up to anybody and say, hey, let's get into a relationship, and that person would be like, absolutely. So, as I said, completely out of my league. And that's why we were, and I'm so glad we went through that journey. We were friends for a year, and we got really good, very close, began to share a lot, began to spend a lot of time. And फिर बहुत सारे दोस्त थे which were like, hey, the two of you look cute together. तो थोड़ा सा फिर peer pressure भी था, and more on her than me because I was like sold. If she agrees, I'm done. And it was about a year of just friendship that then that converted into dating. So we met each other when we were 20. We began to date each other when we were 21. And then we got married 27. So when we got married, we knew each other for 7 years. So we literally grew up together.
How beautiful!
Wow.
How beautiful.
So actually, that brings me to a question.
Wow.
So 21, you got into a relationship when you were 21. Okay, and I heard you say that you don't know what it is to fall in love again and again and again with, you're loving but the partners are changing because the first girl you fell in love with ended up as your wife, and you still continue to hold that beautiful relationship.
Nice one.
I exactly understand that emotion because for me, the first guy I dated with the intention of, okay, it's only going to be serious from now on, or I dated for that matter, I fell in love with, I had physical intimacy with, my boyfriend, I call him my boyfriend, my husband, all of them are sitting in front of you right now.
Wow, that is so
in
awesome.
Yeah, in one package. I mean, what do you think? What would you advise today's guys who perhaps feel that, 21, I should be in a
Exploring.
relationship, I should have a girlfriend, or perhaps way earlier, they would be thinking like that. Is it a good time to invest in a relationship at 21 in the first place? And what should be the intention with, what they should enter into a relationship with a girl?
That's a great question. That's a terrific question. So first things first, I lucked out. I completely lucked out. This could have ended up as a disaster, because you're so right when you say this, Amrita, that at 21, you hardly know anything to know about life, and to make such a big commitment कि यही है और ना कोई नहीं है, because frankly, that's all, again, very, very nice to read in books and watch in movies, but real life is clearly very different. So I lucked out because I'm standing here with a wonderful partner with 20 plus years of association and relationship and being in love with wonderful kids, and everything's just worked out wonderfully. But it could have, as I said, been a complete disaster because we don't know it better. The only advice that I can give, not that I'm qualified to, is please get into relationships whenever you feel you're ready, but don't get into a relationship to make that relationship permanent. Get into that relationship to discover what you would want in a permanent relationship. And that may be that relationship that you're in, but it may not be as well. But you will only realize that once you go into that and experience what it is to share your life, your moments, your ups and downs, your deepest insecurities, your vulnerabilities with somebody else, and discover who do you gel with the most? What is it that you don't perhaps like in yourself or like most about yourself when you're in that relationship? And I think the big mistake that people tend to make, especially youngsters, is look for permanency in relationships right from day one. वो नहीं होना चाहिए. Because the minute you do that, there is this undue pressure that you're putting in yourself as well as your partner to make it work. And you then suddenly, I see so many relationships, and I go back to this thing कि relationship का सबसे basic purpose क्या है? And I always say that relationship should make you happy being with somebody. It doesn't mean that you make them responsible for your happiness, but you are happy being with that person, and hopefully the other person is also happy being with you. But if you are no longer happy being with that person, why would you still want to be in that relationship? How is it that the need for being in a relationship has now superseded the purpose with which that relationship should have started or should have served all through? And that I find is tragic. So there's so many people in toxic relationships and relationships where they're not happy, where they feel either jealous or are a victim of jealousy, whatever the case may be, or combinations thereof. And that's why I'd say 21, 18, 24, whenever you're ready, get into a relationship, but not with the need of permanency. Only to figure out what is it that you want.
I think, I never thought of it that way actually, because if you ask me, I always came from that intention of permanency. Like this will only get more serious from here. And I think that was my stance.
जो अभी अंकुर ने बात बोली तो उससे मुझे वो बात भी याद आ रही है जब शुरू में you were not ready to get into a relationship. जब हमारा वो एक फेज चल रहा था 2-3 महीने का, तो अंकुर मैंने अमृता को यही बोला था उस वक्त कि मुझे भी नहीं पता ये कहाँ जाएगा. मैं कोई एस्ट्रोलॉजर थोड़ी ना हूँ, लेकिन मुझे इतना पक्का पता है कि हमको इसको चांस देना चाहिए टू एक्सप्लोर. ये रोड कहाँ लेके जाएगी मुझे भी नहीं पता, बट इस रोड पे चलते हैं, क्योंकि ये नहीं होना चाहिए कुछ सालों के बाद कि यार एक्सप्लोर ही नहीं किया, चले ही नहीं उस राह पे, तो पता ही नहीं कि ये कहाँ लेके जाएगी. चल के तो देखे, और चलते चलते आज 12 साल हो गए. रिलेशनशिप के भी अलग अलग फेजेस होते हैं. विल स्मिथ ने एक बहुत खूबसूरत बात कही थी कि रिलेशनशिप में एक लाइफ और डेथ का साइकिल रहता है. जब आप डेट करना शुरू करते हैं दैट्स अ लाइफ ऑफ अ न्यू रिलेशनशिप, लेकिन जब शादी होती है तो वो डेटिंग की डेथ होती है, लेकिन शादी का बर्थ होता है एक नई चीज़, बच्चा आता है उसकी डेथ होती है, और ऐसे आगे बढ़ती रहती है. और बहुत से लोग इसमें फंस जाते हैं कि जब हम डेट कर रहे थे तब तुम ऐसे थे, अभी तुम ऐसे नहीं हो, बच्चा होने के बाद तुम ये थे, तुम ये नहीं हो, ये बहुत ज्यादा चलता है। मैं आपसे पूछूंगा, स्पेशली विदुर के आने के बाद आप दोनों के रिलेशनशिप में क्या फर्क आया, क्या चेंजेस आए, अच्छे बुरे दोनों? कैसे वो चैलेंज कैसे था रिलेशनशिप के लिए?
It was not easy. ये तो 100% मैं admit करूँगा अनमोल. And there were three things at play. पहला विदुर हुआ 2011 में, which was 4 or 5 years after we got married. And उस समय पे incidentally I also started my second gig as an entrepreneur. So I started the Groupon India business and it was a very intense time. Busy रहता था, long hours, had to make my feet firm, had to build that entire team. So I would be the first one to admit that I was frankly a very invisible father, and I'm not proud of that fact at all, but that was the fact. And Ruchi, to her credit, was a brilliant mother. She still is, I believe, the best mother that we can have for our kids, and both of us make a brilliant team in how we are raising them. But the first few years, that was the one thing that was happening. The second thing that was happening was I did, so true to what you said, Anmol, I did miss my best friend. Because suddenly my best friend had become the mother to our child. And I was like, यार वो तो खो गई, हम कैसे बातें करते थे, डिनर पे जाते थे, वेकेशंस पे जाते थे, अब सडनली विदुर का खाना, विदुर का सोना, विदुर का सुसु पोटी, सब कुछ वही इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया, right? Everything has just become that. And that was very unsettling. So I think the way that I reacted to that was to throw myself more into work. And I was like, ठीक है, अगर वो busy है, which is very important, then फिर मुझे भी busy रहना चाहिए, because I don't want her to feel the pressure of भाई मेरी बेस्ट फ्रेंड भी बनो और माँ भी बनो और बहू भी बनो और हज़ार चीज़ें और बनो. And the third thing was, we, for the first 7 years of our life, our married life, stayed with my parents, which is irrespective of how wonderful the parents are and the wife is, an intensely difficult relationship to crack. क्योंकि बहुत रेयर होता है कि somebody's worldview matches so wonderfully with somebody else's worldview who's a complete outsider for the family. So a lot of how I was raised and how our family is was very different from how Ruchi was raised and her family is. So how Vidur was being raised and the circumstances in there, they were also playing a part. So I'd argue that between 2011 to 2013 or so, we had our own lives where we were playing our own roles and we were not intersecting as much as I would have liked, and she would have as well. But फिर धीरे धीरे जब विदुर बड़ा हुआ and he started to go to school, and I think the big shift in our relationship, wonderfully so, happened was when we moved out of my parents' home and took up a place independently of our own. Then I think it was a whole new discovery. So both of us began to see very different sides and wonderfully different sides of ours than what we had seen in the first 7 years of our marriage.
You know, बहुत से लोग हमें comments में लिख के बोलते हैं कि यार आप लोग बिल्कुल perfect couple हो, आप लोगों की तो लड़ाई नहीं होती होगी. तो मुझे बड़ी हैरत होती है कि लोग ऐसा क्यों सोचते हैं कि जिन कपल्स की लड़ाई नहीं होती वो परफेक्ट कपल्स हैं, क्योंकि जिनकी लड़ाई नहीं हो रही उनके तो रिलेशनशिप में बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है भाई. परफेक्ट कपल तो वो है जो अपने डिफरेंसेस को सॉर्ट आउट करके आगे बढ़ पाए.
Exactly.
तो ये कहाँ लिखा है कि लड़ाई नहीं होनी चाहिए और डिफरेंसेस नहीं होने चाहिए? वो तो होंगे ही होंगे, और उनको सॉर्ट करके आगे बढ़ने वाले लोग हैं जो वो है परफेक्ट कपल, जिनको यू नो लाइक आई लुक अप टू माय पेरेंट्स as the perfect couple.
In fact, I think, I also relate to what you said, because when Veer came into our life, I also saw that.
Sir.
I had the second child insecurity.
She is my first child. जो पहले बच्चे को होता है ना, ये इनको ये हो रहा है सब कुछ.
Completely.
I want to know about that. Please tell me more.
No, because, Anmol was the hands-on father.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my decision that I'll
Yes,
be a hands-on father.
he was
yeah.
very much into the kid and wanted to take all major decisions for the kid, and he wanted to be like a little ruling.
ये क्या बोल दिया अंकुर?
सब निकल के आ रहा है आज।
यार
वीर के लिए मुझ पे उंगली भी उठाई जाती है. Don't say this. I suddenly become Sunny Deol. So I'm like, 2 साल, 12 साल, and this is where we have come. So that, I guess that happens in all the relationships, and in fact, we did have our share of, like I think for the first time in 10 years, we never fought, we never had any differences. We were like so similar in all the way, and like in many ways. And then Veer came, and then we saw a lot of differences happening, because I think when a kid comes, then that's one thing that you both feel ki, I know this can be better. He feels that this can be better. So बहुत clash होता है. It definitely makes a difference.
किसी भी रिश्ते की जब शुरुआत होती है तो उसमें बड़ी गर्मी होती है शुरुआत में, यू आर एक्सप्लोरिंग ईच अदर, बहुत कुछ जानने को है, हम जानते ही नहीं है. किसी इंसान को मिले 21 साल में तो उसको 21 साल की जिंदगी हमें बतानी है और उसको उसकी भी सुननी है. फिर धीरे धीरे करके हम एक दूसरे को पूरा जान जाते हैं. अब पुरानी कोई बात करने को नहीं है, अब नई बातें बनानी है इस रिश्ते में, जिनके बारे में हम बातें करें, नई यादें बनानी है. ये रिश्ते में चेंजेस कैसे कैसे आते हैं? पहले 2-3 साल, फिर एक 5 साल, फिर एक 7-8 साल, 10 साल, ये क्या इवॉल्व होता है, क्या चेंजेस आते हैं? मैं आपके पर्सनल, आपके और रुचि के बारे में अगर आप बताओ तो ये कैसे इवॉल्व किए 15 साल में?
श्योर. तो इसमें एक फिलॉसफी अनमोल जो मेरी है, it is driven by my reflection on building a lot of startups, of course being in this relationship, acting as some sort of a mentor to some people who in some way draw from my inspiration, कि एक relationship या किसी भी long stint को बरकरार रहने के लिए, it's true for career, it's true for relationship, and that's the beautiful part. You have to have two things. You need to have a positive influence, but at the same time, you also need to be unpredictable. And the combination of that, which is positive unpredictability, is, in my opinion, the secret sauce to a long, sustained, fulfilling journey in anything that you do, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship. Now, what do I mean by positive unpredictability? Most relationships begin to get boring because they become predictable. तो हमें पता है, like life is like सुबह उठना है, ब्रश करना है, नहाना है, बच्चों को स्कूल भेजना है, वापस आना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है. So suddenly it becomes a routine. That's what most retired people suffer from, right? Because they have nothing to look forward to. It's almost like they're at the end of their wonderful life, and now they're just staring at a predictable routine with nothing that generates a spike or an interest. So that's where unpredictability is important. Now, you don't also want it to be unpredictable in a negative fashion, because then that can make your life go haywire. So what ends up happening is there are moments in your marriage जहाँ आप positive unpredictability throw in कर देते हैं. Having a kid is a wonderful, positive, unpredictable event. It's unpredictable. You have no idea what you're getting into. Yeah. Like you are 2-year-old parents. You've no idea what 5-year-old parents will go through. So you will go through your own journey. Veer will go through his own journey. You will suddenly realize, oh, I am this, I am that. You'll realize what your patience level are. You'll realize what your adherence levels are. When he begins to go to school, then you'll be like, boss, अब तो इतना सारे और influence हो रहे हैं, then how is our influence important, not important, blah, 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 blah. You go through career changes. That's a positive, hopefully, positive, unpredictable outcome as well. Because now Amrita is going through her own line, Anmol's picking up a new line. How that shapes up will have an impact in your relationship as well. You move to a new city. That's a positive, unpredictable place. So all of these, don't make it predictable. Now that I don't mean it like, you suddenly behind the wall go, "Bhau!" You don't want to be, you don't want to be forcing that unpredictability in it. But you have to continuously keep doing things that make you see different facets of it. So one thing, for example, that both of us have realized works wonderfully for us is, thankfully we are at a point in time where we can afford to take a lot of vacations. We have the time and the money to be able to do so as well. So we travel a lot. And it is fascinating how travel has made us see different aspects of our own selves and relationship than anything else has. When you're going through your normal day, it's a normal day. But suddenly when you're traveling and you're experiencing either history or adventure or joy or whatever it is, you begin to see how your partner is reacting in these circumstances, in this context. And every vacation will be a different one. Your kids are also growing, so they are also witnessing a different one. पहले तो वो बीवी बच्चों की तरह हमारी बात मान के कहीं भी चल जाते थे, but now they have a mind of their own. Vidur is 11, Ozma is 5. So like, मुझे यहाँ नहीं जाना, boring है, मुझे ये करना है क्योंकि वो exciting है. So suddenly you are also experiencing that in some way, so on and so forth. So long story short, I believe positive unpredictability is something which is critical for longevity. It's the same thing that you would have perhaps experienced in your careers as well. You tend to be in a long career only if you've made it positively unpredictable for the one that you're working with or for and your own self. Otherwise it becomes
That's so cool, yeah.
My God, title Love Guru.
आपने मतलब you know हमने ये चीज whatever Ankur is talking about without even planning, we have actually gone through all of this.
Yes.
Having a kid, change of a new place, a career change, and all of this is just happening in the last 2 years.
It's actually come together and perhaps at the right time, because after being in a relationship for like 12 years, 12 years,
13,
you know, I think all these changes were important.
Yeah.
So a kid is perhaps something that, you know, it's a gift of nature that adds that positive unpredictability. But I think apart from that, I really like that idea of yours of, you know, for people who don't have the luxury of saying, let's try and shift our base to a new house or a new city, and, you know, like just, it's a great idea to go on holidays together.
Yeah.
Or even explore your own city. So like somebody we know
Explore
in this
your own
room,
city,
Anmol, who didn't do that before you came in. Go on ceiling, figure it out. Like, but the larger thing is, there's just so much to do. There's just so much to do.
So if I meet Ruchi and I ask her, Ruchi, what is that one thing which ticks you off about Ankur? What would Ruchi say?
For the longest time, it was that your work overpowers you, which thankfully has changed over years. Right now, I think her biggest angst is that when I am into something, then I completely block out noise.
Okay.
तो अगर वो हो रही होगी ना, अंकुर ये करना है वो करना है, मैं उसको नहीं सुन रहा हूँ. मुझे पता है कि वो कुछ बोल रही है, but I am in my zone.
So अंकुर, आज के इस प्यार भरे सेशन को, for a change, you're not talking about how to invest in SIPs and you're talking about how to invest in love, which is good. So I have some photographs to share with you. Okay. Just what are the memories? You know, because ये आपका एक recent photograph मैंने देखा, talks about the man's love for money.
Oh, I love this. This is my entire crew. This is who I completely adore. Spend time
crew.
with. That's the Warikoo crew. This is the team that makes all the content happen.
So everybody is showing love. Ankur is the only guy saying, I love money. Show me the money.
This is मैं boomer हूँ, मैं 40 साल को, तो I don't know this shit. ये मुझे बच्चों ने बताया. This is apparently the K-pop BTS, हाँ, love
BTS
sign.
thing, yes.
तो clearly I've done a piss poor job of it क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा है वो पैसा है, but
but you're better off than us.
Exactly. Oh, that's so wonderful. No, I love them. This is
look at this.
Yeah,
it's all love.
I love how Vidur and Uzma are with each other. Like, they're just wonderful, love, caring, and Vidur reminds me of me when I was young. So no, it's just wonderful to see them.
Oh.
my mom, so my sister is 6 years younger to me, so there was a fair bit of gap.
Okay.
तो उससे पहले तक my mom was like, मेरी बेटी का अरमान मेरा बेटा पूरा करेगा. तो I was, for the smallest excuse, dressed like a girl, wearing dresses and so on and so forth. So this is one of them.
I think ये सब लड़कों ने किया है ना. मैंने भी एक बार साड़ी पहन के फोटोग्राफ खिंचाया है.
सबके साथ होता है.
Okay, I'm sorry about it.
She's saying I'm sorry about it.
Oh,
Look at that.
God. Not the best photograph. This was, so,
क्या
two fun facts
क्या चल
about
रहा था
this.
उनको दिमाग में?
Two fun facts about this.
Okay.
I was supremely overweight at that point of time. I used to weigh some 88-90 kgs or something. And Ruchi is one girl who doesn't like makeup at all. And she lost her cool because the makeup artist on the day of her शादी just overdid. मैं बोला कि जिंदगी भर का experience मैं इस लड़की पे निकाल दूंगी. तो it just went in completely different. So both of us are not too happy with how our marriage photographs are, but so it is.
Ooh la la.
Milan Soman, or is that Ankur Warikoo?
This was 2013.
But talk about this because because ये भी to love your own body, it's so important. And what's your age? यहाँ पे क्या है?
I was 33 at this point of time, and
Okay.
and the story behind this Anmol was I had a surgery in my right hip, because of which I was on bed rest for about 3 months, and I had to walk with the help of crutches for about 5 months. तो काफी क्या था? It was not a big deal in my head, but apparently it was a big deal as such. मेरे जिंदगी में ये था कि चलो सर्जरी करनी है आगे बढ़ो, तो हो गया.
अच्छा.
And when the condition was diagnosed, to prevent the damage to my hip bone, which was a condition, the doctor on the prescription had written stop walking. Just stop walking. And that was a big hit for me because I'm a very active person in that sense, and somebody to tell me कि चलना ही बंद कर दो was big thing. So I asked myself, to celebrate the end of this chapter in my life, what should I do? And I decided that I am now going to run. So I prepared for the half marathon that happens in Delhi every year. And when I ran that half marathon, I felt like a fraud because I had never until that day run 21 kilometers. So I was like, यार ये तो मतलब मैं उठा 21 किलोमीटर भाग लिया और हो गया. So then I asked myself, what is the one thing that I can do which I can't one day just show up for? And in that moment of craziness, I said 6-pack abs.
Yes. I can totally relate to that. I did this thing very similar to what you thought. I did it for when I was crossing 40. I want to have a 6-pack at 40. Yeah.
Go 40.
And this is my last picture because this is all about happiness.
Yes.
It's just, I saw this and I was like, बस इसमें खुशी ही खुशी है और कुछ नहीं है.
Yeah. Touch wood. We love each other as a family. We are very happy as a family. We don't miss any occasion to celebrate that happiness, to share that joy with one another. So I'm just lucky to be here.
Wow. So talking about investing in relationships, I have one question for you, and I think you'll be the best person to answer this. For young guys and girls who are in a relationship, how do you think they should handle finance when they are dating and when they decide to get married?
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Superb.
So when they're dating, I feel that it should be completely independent. I genuinely feel that it's so stupid for the guy to unnecessarily take the onus or the girl to expect it so, or for the guy to take offense if the girl wants to pay for herself. The world has changed. Of course, do it with your own love. So I'm not saying be very split-wise and तुमने ये खाया, मैंने ये किया और वो सब वगैरह. If you can and there is no trigger at the other side, then just be absolutely chill about it, and you don't have to force fit a certain societal regime on it. Once you get married, this is how I would strongly suggest. Have 3 bank accounts. One for the husband, one for the wife, one for joint. You need to have an independent financial identity, very critical, irrespective of how much you love each other. It is important that you make yourself responsible and accountable for your financial security as well. So a part of your income, whatever that income is, you have to take it for yourself in your bank account and invest for yourself. The same thing happens for the other side as well as the partner. And then you jointly own one account, which is towards the family, towards the relationship. Not to suggest that the independent ones are not towards the relationship, but this one is the joint custody, and you deploy it that way. Let there be very clear, I wouldn't say rules which are sacrosanct, but rules which make everyone comfortable कि घर का खर्चा ये, इधर का खर्चा ये, यहाँ का खर्चा ये, यहाँ का खर्चा ये. And I've seen the happiest couples are the ones which don't make money an issue, but instead make money a medium to support the relationship. And as long as you can find that balance, there is no set rule. My suggestion is one of the many suggestions someone would make. But don't let money ever come in the way of the relationship becoming healthier. Instead, use money as much as you can to buy the things that would make the relationship even more wonderful. Yeah.
Wow. So maybe after this, 8
a joint account.
8 years of marriage, and we finally might have a joint account now. But my last, just to sum it up, my last thought in my mind is, Ankur, if I tell you, just close your eyes, think about you and Ruchi, 7 years of dating, 15 years of marriage, right from वो जो ड्यूक स्पेशल में वो लड़की डम शरार्ट्स खेल रही थी, और आज आपके साथ आपके 2 बच्चे, उज़मा, विदुर, ये इतनी लंबी खूबसूरत जर्नी जो रही है, जो इंशाल्लाह और भी आगे बढ़ेगी और ग्रो करेगी. एक मोमेंट आज मैं आपको बोलूँ, एक मोमेंट, वो एक फोटोग्राफ के तौर पे अगर आप चाहें कि कैद करके मैं सबको बता दूं, वो एक लम्हा कहाँ पे लेके जाएगा आपको? एक.
Oh wow, never. I haven't been asked this question ever. Very difficult. I think it will be जब उज़मा पहली बार घर आई और विदुर ने उसको अपनी गोद में लिया. That just suddenly made everything complete.
Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing, amazing.
Amazing. बहुत ही इतना मज़ा आया है, अमृता, पैंडेमिक के दौरान जब हम लोग खूब डिजिटल एक्सप्लोर कर रहे थे, तो यूट्यूब में मैं जब अपने आप को नई नई चीज़ें एक्सप्लोर कर रहा था, तो बार बार एक आदमी की ऐड आती थी, वो स्किप ऐड कर देता था, मैं स्किप ऐड कर देता था. तो एक दिन वही आदमी ने आके अपनी ऐड में बोला कि मेरी बहुत सारी एड्स आ रही है ना आपको, मैं आपको बताता हूँ ये ऐड हटानी कैसे है. तो मैंने कहा 1 मिनट, ये आदमी अलग है, इसको मुझे देखना है, इसको एक्सप्लोर करना है. क्या, व्हाट इज ही सेइंग? ये आदमी खुद बता रहा है कि आप मेरी ऐड कैसे देखना बंद कर सकते हो, कैसे हटा सकते हो. एंड दैट्स द फर्स्ट टाइम आई गॉट टू नो Ankur Warikoo, and then I started following you, and I think you are such a bliss to the digital world. You are such a bliss to the generation today, and we truly are blessed that you graced us with this time, because I really respect that the time you have given us. And बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके, बहुत दिल को छुई आपकी बातें मुझे.
नहीं, same here यार. I had a wonderful conversation. This is on record my first formal conversation love और relationship के बारे में, क्योंकि इससे मैं बहुत दूर दूर तक जाता हूँ. मैं क्या ही सिखाऊंगा किसी को जिसने 20 साल की उम्र में जो पहली लड़की मिली उसी से शादी भी कर ली. Like I've zero basis for giving anybody any relationship advice, but I love the questions that you guys threw at me, and it got me to think. तो बहुत अच्छा लगा. Thank you so much for having me again, and I wish you all best and a lot more of such wonderful conversations.
Couple of tea.